Okay, so we have a new layer, and this new layer is going to be for the movie clip that we're going to create. And we drug an instance. An instance just means that like one of these symbols, drug it from the library to the stage. So it is selected, and I am going to hit Modify, Convert to Symbol. And you might say, well, why am I going to convert it to a symbol? Because it already is a symbol. Well, you can have symbols inside of symbols. And this particular one, we are going to have this symbol inside another one. So we already had one called Graphic Sun or G Sun. Now I'm going to make this one called MC Sun. Actually, I'm going to call it MC Rotating Sun. And I'm going to make it a movie clip with a center registration point. And I'm going to click OK. Now, this looks exactly the same as it did before. But we need to actually go into the movie clip called Rotating Sun and edit it on that timeline. A couple ways you can do it. I could double click on the symbol in the library. Oops, not there, right there. And it's taking me into the movie clip called Rotating Sun. And you see that there is a timeline for it. Now I'm going to go out back to scene one. And here it still is, okay? I can look at my properties and this says it's a movie clip. If I double click, it also goes in there. Now, don't be fooled because I went into that movie clip, but when I click on this, guess what? The graphic of sun is there, which is fine because remember um, if we put a motion tween on something, it has to be a symbol first before we can make it animate, okay? So what we want to do is we want to make this sun rotate, just kind of spin in a circle. So if I right click on this graphic, and remember I'm inside the movie clip, I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose motion tween, and I actually want the sun to rotate slowly. So instead of it going in 1 second, I actually want it to go in 90. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on 90 and choose Insert Frame. All that did was extend the amount of time. That's all it did. So now, if we're in the properties, notice that we have tool, object, and frame. And when I just inserted those frames, it jumped over here to frame. If it didn't for you, then go click on it. Properties, frame. Down here towards the bottom, we have this thing called rotate. I'm going to click on it, and I could click clockwise, I could click counterclockwise. But when I do, notice what happens. My sun is rotating around that center registration point, just like that, nice and slow. So now if I go back to scene one and I hit play, whoops, I'm going to show my first layer. Look at it. This didn't move though, did it? Don't fret. The movie clip, you don't see it moving on the main timeline. You're not going to see it moving until you do a test movie. Now you're going to see the rotate. Okay, so I'm going to go back here real quick on my timeline. So this one moved up really fast. I'm going to go ahead and make this one last a little bit longer. And so I'm going to insert frame again. I am going to make this sun go down instead of up. So I'm going to start it up here on my first keyframe. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I clicked on the wrong thing. Let me move that back. Okay, and we move the playhead over to 60. And now I'm going to move that down off the stage. Oh, actually, I don't want it off the stage in frame one. Oh, and you know what I did? Hang on. Okay, so I forgot to put a motion tween on it. That's why I was able to do it there. So it's up here in frame 1. I'm going to right click, create motion tween. Now I'm going to go to 60 and I'm going to make it go down. Okay, so now if I hit play, okay, it's still not showing it rotating there, but it will when we test the movie. Browser, the rotating sun is falling slower because I have it going on 2 seconds. The rising graphic goes 1 second and disappears. Now, if I wanted to change that, I could just drag, and I just did a click and drag to extend that keyframe out to where it's the same amount of time. And I'm going to Control S to save. Now, having moved that last keyframe, you can see they're moving at the same rate, but the movie clip is rotating because I have it rotating on a separate timeline, and then on the main timeline, this one's falling, this one's rising at the same rate. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that, and you go to File, Export. We can't do animated GIF on this one because it won't play the rotation because that's in a separate timeline. So we're going to choose Export Video Media, and it's going to ignore the stage color, but we're going to do a format called H.264, makes it a high quality. You might want to double check your output. Click that folder, make sure it's going into your Animate folder. It's going to give it the same file name. Hit Save, and then hit Export. And when you hit Export, if you give it a few seconds, it's actually going to pop up with this Adobe Media Encoder. It's just another program that should pop up automatically, hopefully, to show you how to, or not show, but to put it through the render process. Oh, there it is. And it's going to pop up right here, and it's going to actually work its way through it, and it's going to give you a check mark when it's done. And then you should be able to go into your folder and find the one that's called .mp4. And there you can see the rotation, and you can see the rising and falling, and then it lasts 2 seconds because that is what the 60 frames is.